Hey guys, tonight we begin with something gloriously excessive. The life of the 1980s Yuppie, not the person you picture when someone says the 80s, not the neon leg warmers, not the mall food court, not the guy renting Voss tapes and sweatpants. No, tonight we are talking about the young urban professional, the shoulder-padded cologne, drenched Rolex, flashing apex predator of late capitalism, sprinting through Manhattan in leather loafers with a briefcase full of ambition and absolutely no inner peace. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy what I do here. A sincere thank you to the listener who suggested tonight's topic, because the best ideas always seem to come from you, and this little channel simply would not grow without your suggestions. Quietly steering the ship. Let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from and what time it is for you, 'cause somehow it is always well past midnight somewhere. And if you would rather drift off with just your ears, the channel is now on Spotify as well. Links down in the description. Now dim the lights, switch on a fan for that soft white noise. Get comfortable and loosen whatever the 80s equivalent of a tie was, which was in fact a tie. Let us pause for a second. Have you ever wondered what it actually felt like to be rich, exhausted, and morally bankrupt all at the same time? Did yuppies really eat sushi to seem sophisticated, or did they just enjoy paying too much for cold rice? Could a single telephone truly weigh as much as a bowling ball and still be considered glamorous? Would you survive one morning of power breakfasts, borrowed confidence, and a boss who communicates exclusively in threats? Or would you crack before noon and end up weeping quietly into a $12 salad? And now, congratulations! You have just woken up in 1987 in a Manhattan apartment you cannot afford, beside a rowing machine you will never use, roughly 8 months before the stock market decides to ruin everyone is autumn. Good luck. You wake up in a shoebox in the sky and it is glorious. Exposed brick, a single enormous window, and almost no furniture. Because in 1987, empty space is the ultimate flex. You paid a fortune for this co-op, and by paid a fortune, I mean you signed something you did not read while a broker in a double-breasted blazer nodded encouragingly. The rent or the mortgage or whatever financial hostage situation you have entered consumes most of your income, but it has a doorman, a zip code that impresses strangers, and a view of another building exactly like yours, where another version of you is also waking up with a headache and a vague sense of dread. The apartment is technically small enough that you can touch 2 walls at once, but you would never call it small. You call it efficient. You call it minimalist. You call it a peda, a phrase you learned last month and now deploy at every opportunity. The truth is that the emptiness is not a design choice so much as a budgeting outcome. Furniture costs money, and money is currently spoken for by roughly 900 other obligations, most of which are trying to look wealthy. What furniture you do own was selected entirely for its ability to signal taste. There is a single leather chair angled toward nothing. Here is a gloss coffee table with nothing on it but a design magazine you have never opened. Here is a rowing machine gathering an elegant layer of dust in the corner, purchased during a burst of optimism. You no longer remember having, somewhere in a cabinet, lives a set of wine glasses so fragile they seem designed to shatter if you look at them with insophistication. The bedroom, if you can call a curtained-off corner a bedroom, contains a mattress on a low frame and a telephone within arm's reach, because a true professional must be reachable at all hours by people who will only ever call to deliver bad news. The morning light pours through that enormous window with tremendous confidence, illuminating the dust, the emptiness, and the faint outline of your own ambition hovering somewhere near the ceiling. Think of it like paying premium prices for a hotel room you are legally obligated to keep forever. You are not buying square footage. You are buying an address, a story you can tell at parties, and the right to say the neighborhood name in a certain casual way that suggests it was no big deal. It was, in fact, a very big deal. It was the biggest deal of your financial life, and you make it every single month when the payment comes due. Downstairs, the doorman greets you by name, which feels wonderful until you realize you are paying indirectly for the privilege of being greeted. He has watched 100 people just like you move in wearing the same suit and the same expression of borrowed certainty. He has watched a fair number of them move out again quietly in the middle of the day when the certainty ran out. You stretch, you groan, you look out at the city that promised you everything and charges you accordingly. The whole apartment could fit inside a suburban garage. But a suburban garage does not come with a view of the skyline or the ability to say, you live where you live. You have traded space, savings, and sleep for status, and you would do it again in a heartbeat. In fact, you already have the lease renews next spring. It is time to get ready, which for a yuppie is less a hygiene routine and more a full theatrical production. Your bathroom counter looks like a laboratory. There is mousse, there is gel, there is something French you cannot pronounce and did not need. You blow dry your hair into a shape that suggests confidence and mild aggression. You splash on a cologne so powerful it enters rooms before you do and lingers after you leave. Like a rumor, the goal is not to smell clean. The goal is to smell expensive, which in the 80s was a completely different and far more important thing. The hair alone is a project rivaling municipal construction. It must be full. It must be sculpted. And it must appear to defy gravity while pretending it simply woke up this way. You work the mousse in with the focus of a sculptor, and the anxiety of a man who knows a single flat patch could undermine an entire day of negotiations. The blow dryer roars, the hair rises. You aim for a look that says,
I am in control of everything.
including my follicles. The mirror is your most honest colleague and your harshest critic. You lean in, inspecting your reflection for flaws, the way your boss inspects your quarterly numbers, which is to say, relentlessly and without mercy. Is that a shadow under your eyes? You will handle it? Is your jaw sufficiently determined? You practice the determined jaw. You have a whole rotation of faces, and you audition them here each morning before taking them public. The products deserve their own paragraph because there are so many of them. Cleansers, toners, moisturizers, and mysterious tubes whose purpose you never fully understood, but purchased because a man at a department store counter implied that not owning them would be a personal failing. It is like maintaining a small high-run garden that happens to grow on your face. Each bottle costs more than a decent dinner, and you apply them in a specific order. You are not entirely sure you remember correctly. Then comes the cologne, and the cologne is not subtle. Subtlety is for people who cannot afford to be noticed. You apply it generously, aggressively, the way one might season a meal for an enemy